Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. Man accused in death of 2-year-old boy charged. Concerns about rodent infestation in St. James. And later in sports, West Indies versus South Africa abandoned due to rain. Thank you for joining us. I'm Shamela Pullen. Here are the details. Anthony Finlay, the man accused in the shooting death of 2-year-old Adrian Campbell in Mackhill, Trelawney, has been charged. He was charged yesterday with murder, attempted murder, and illegal possession of a firearm. According to reports, about 8 o'clock on Sunday, March 12, Mr. Finlay and a male cousin were embroiled in a conflict. Mr. Finlay reportedly left the scene and returned with a firearm, which was used to open fire at his cousin, who was seated in a Honda motor car. It was reported that the bullets missed the intended target and hit the 2-year-old boy who was seated in the rear of the car. The 2-year-old boy was pronounced dead at the Falmouth General Hospital. Mr. Finlay fled the scene but was subsequently captured by lawmen during a stop and search operation in the parish. No date has yet been set for his court appearance. As drought conditions continue across the island, at least one municipal corporation has already launched mitigation efforts to help its citizenry. As we hear in this report from Halshin Burke, a $5 million drought mitigation program is slated to get underway shortly in Trelawney.
Residents, especially farmers in Trelawney, are facing the brunt of the drought conditions which have been impacting the country over the past few months. But help is coming. Chairman of the Trelawney Municipal Corporation, Colin Gager, says a drought plan is in place in which water will be trucked to the various communities. This is under a $5 million initiative. But this appeal from the corporation's chairman to residents, as he says there will have to be equity in how the water distribution project will work.
We might have to do some house-to-house supplies, but we will decide how many drums we can give to a person in the first day, because this will be going on for a while. So we are asking that everybody be on their best regards.
Mr. Gager says the corporation will be sanitizing all the parish tanks and trucks which will be used to distribute the commodity.
This program that we will be operating, we want to have it under control that will stand to the level of any health concern that might be out there. I know there's a concern with the illegal operators, but we have to make sure that in our distribution exercise, we send treated water out there, and at no time at all it is mixed with any sort of contaminated water.
He further noted that under the initiative being rolled out, the NWC will be tasked with the inspection of the trucks to ensure that they are sanitized before they are filled. If they aren't, then no water will be granted to those operators. Halshin Burke reporting for TVJ News.
There are more complaints about rodent infestation in St. James this afternoon. They have been from Council of the Granville Division, Michael Troop, who says rats have been migrating from Montego Bay to his division. More in this report from Karen Simpson.
A rat infestation in Granville St. James has the councillor Michael Troop questioning his colleagues.
Are there any plan, Your Worship, for the public health? Any plan in the near future for the public health to eradicate the large rats in the city of Montego Bay so they can stop coming into Granville?
According to Mr. Troop, the root cause of the ongoing problem can be traced back to Montego Bay. He says they have made the garbage collection areas breeding grounds, renewing fears of leptospirosis. However, the St. James Municipal Corporation chairman suggested that Councillor Troop should take a closer look within his division.
Granville division
Councillor
is
Troop,
full of rats.
that is not all over. It seems as if there is a problem in your division.
There's a problem in Montego Bay too.
No, man.
Go to Paris, 9 o'clock this evening and 7 o'clock and you see.
We're talking.
And in response to his concern, the Chief Public Health Inspector for the parish, Sharika Lewis, suggested that addressing the rodent issue in the parish has to be multi-agency approach, indicating that discussions are underway to address the problem.
I know that coming from the Public Health and SAN meeting that there is some discussions a program for the parish to include the city of Montego Bay. So, Councillor Troop, that is something that is in place and will be rolled out in the soonest.
She says the Public Health Department will be investigating the matter.
What we can do, though, is to look closer into your community of Granville to see what are the contributing factors to the heavy infestation in your community.
Rat infestation has become the common cry for residents of Granville and St. James in recent months, despite the rollout of new garbage trucks across the island. Kerry-Ann Simpson for TVJ News.
Another senior member of the Jamaica Defense Force has left the organization following sexual allegations of sexual harassment. The Jamaica Defense Force says it concluded an investigation into allegations of sexual harassment by the senior officer. The investigation was prompted by an official report made by a female service member in February 2023 regarding inappropriate conduct by the senior officer. An immediate investigation was launched that has since revealed that the senior officer conducted himself in a manner contrary to the Defense Act. Disciplinary proceedings were initiated against the senior officer, who has subsequently tendered his resignation. The investigation also recommended disciplinary action for other service members who had knowledge of the allegation but failed to provide a report, which is required according to police policies. Force policies, rather. The Chief of Defense Staff accepted the resignation of the senior officer on Monday, March 13, 2023. The JDF reiterates its zero tolerance for actions that are in breach of the Defense Act and force policies, and continues to implore service members and civilians who are aware of any breach of use the approved processes to report them. It's time for a break. Stay with us. More stories when we return. Welcome back to the Midday News. The Portland Fire Department is reporting a significant increase in the number of bushfires in the parish. In addition to urging greater care, the department is also calling on residents to stop making prank calls, as there are legitimate situations that require the resources. More in this report. For the month of February, the Portland Fire Department is reporting that it received some 40 telephone calls to respond to fires. However, while 29 of those calls were genuine, the others were false alarms.
The Jamaica Fire Brigade Portland Division received and responded to 40 calls, of which 29 were genuine fire calls. 4 were malicious fire calls, false alarms, and 1 was false alarm with good intent. 4 special service calls and 2 motor vehicle accidents.
This is a significant increase when compared to the same period last year. But the great concern for the fire department is the increase in bushfires across the parish.
I know we are all seeing, as you said, the fire truck moving up and down all about night and day. And this is as a result of the increase in the number of bushfires that we are receiving. Last year, February, we only received 1 bushfire call. And in February of this year, we received 18. And Bear in mind, I'm just reporting for the month of February.
Emilia Evans is the public relations officer at the Jamaica Fire Brigade. He says the brigade is ramping up efforts to tackle the issues of bushfires. Mr. Evans says the ongoing drought condition is a contributing factor, as they are also challenged by water lockoffs. But there are some positives. The firefighters received some 30 new trucks from the government that are now in use.
For the human resource, one would expect at this time that the team is extremely fatigued because of all the fires. When we break down, as I said, the fires for this month so far, for the first 12 days, we're looking at over 30 bushfires per day. Some stations responding to 3-4 bushfires per day. So obviously it's going to take a toll. We're humans, and it has to take a toll on us.
It's now time for the Business Minute.
Blue Power Group is reporting more profit in its third quarter ended January. Net profit for the 3 months amounted to $17.95 million compared to $12.4 million for the similar period in 2022. Total revenues for the year improved to $193.7 million versus $135.4 million for the corresponding period last year. Further afield, hours after the Swiss Central Bank said it was ready to provide financial support to Credit Suisse, the beleaguered megabank took up the offer, hoping to reassure investors that it had the necessary cash to stay afloat. Credit Suisse says it's prepared to borrow up to 50 billion Swiss francs, or $53.7 billion US from the Swiss National Bank. Investors sent shares in the country's second largest lender crashing by as much as 30% on Wednesday. The bank called the loan a decisive action to preemptively strengthen its liquidity. In addition to the loan from the central bank, Credit Suisse also says it repurchased billions of dollars of its own debt to manage its liabilities and interest payment expenses. The offer covers 2.5 billion of US dollar bonds and 500 million euros or 529 million US dollars of euro bonds. And that's it for the Business Minute. I'm Shane Masters.
Time now for the top regional and international stories.
In the region, former Bahamian Youth, Sports and Culture Minister Lenisha Roll was granted bail yesterday and will reappear in court on May 31st after she was charged with fraudulently awarding contracts in excess of $700,000 US. Roll faced 1 count of bribery and 14 counts of conspiracy to commit fraud by false pretense. Roll's husband is also charged with 1 count of conspiracy to defraud the government. Also charged is Roll's uncle. The charges relate to her time as a government minister between 2019 and 2021. And on the international scene, declassified footage from the U.S. military shows the moment a Russian jet crashed into a U.S. drone on Tuesday. The U.S. military says the collision meant it later had to bring down the drone into the Black Sea. Russia says it will try to retrieve the wreckage of the downed drone. It also denied direct contact with the drone, noting that relations between Moscow and Washington are now at their lowest point. And those were the top regional and international stories. I'm Carrie Ann Simpson.